of Coastal is going to present to us. And I'm just making sure that's the only one. I think it is.
Hillary, did we resolve the meeting with you?
Horsley Witten.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth with them about a good date, and I emailed out this morning to see if folks could make a special meeting on
The 14th or 15th, right?
the 15th from 1 to 4. So we're gonna check in and see if that's agreeable. And if that is, then we can post that as a special meeting.
Yeah, I can do that. I can do that Friday.
Perfect.
Looks like we have a quorum here. So I guess we should begin. Okay, for the last time, perhaps. Pursuant to the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, paragraphs 18 to 25, as amended by Chapter 28 of the Acts of 2009, the Wetland Protection Act, and to the Wellfleet Environmental Protection Law of 1986, and its regulations of January 2000, the Wellfleet Conservation Commission will hold public hearings on Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021, 5 p.m., with a business meeting starting at 4 via remote meeting. Pursuant to the Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's orders imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, no in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted at this meeting. Town hall is closed to the public. Board members will participate in this meeting. And attending, we have Benjamin Fairbank, Barbara Brennesel, Mike Fisher, and Leon Shreves. And hello, Hillary. Okay. So Hillary, do you have a Horsley Witten update? You need to unmute there, Hillary.
Sorry. I don't so much have an update. I sent around an email this morning, seeing if folks could make a special meeting on Tuesday, June 15th from 1 to 4. Michael said he could come. Barbara said she could come unless there's a lot of terrapin activity.
And I could come because I'm leaving the next day. So
You're leaving the next day.
yeah.
Okay, so you could come. Ben?
Yeah, I can come.
Okay, good. And John?
You're muted, John. We can't even see your lips moving.
What is it that I missed the beginning?
On June 15th from 1 to 4, it would be a special business meeting to meet with our consultant Horsley Witten to talk about our regulation updates and our bylaw.
June 15th.
1 to 4.
Okay, what day is that?
It's a Tuesday.
Okay. 1 to 4.
It's the day before our meeting. We have meetings.
Okay. Yeah, I think I can make that.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll get back with them. We had gone back and forth on a couple other dates and times, but nothing was really working out. And I thought it would be better to do it outside of our regularly scheduled meetings. So
That makes sense.
okay, perfect. So, and there are a couple copies in the bin outside the door. I know Barbara wanted one, and I think John, you wanted a paper copy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I picked it up. And now that I know this meeting's going to happen, I'll get someone to cover my terrapin work that day.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
Okay. I have down here on the agenda set to discuss 77 Somerset Avenue, map 28, parcel 114.
Yep.
Beach nourishment.
So we should have Charlie Agro here to lead that discussion. It's for beach nourishment. So we could turn the floor over to Charlie.
Charlie?
Thank you, Hillary. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon,
Yes.
everybody. Here for the discussion for the nourishment at 77 Samoset Avenue. Last year, the area was permitted for beach nourishment on the landward side of the concrete wall, where sand washes out through void spaces in the wall, as well as the edge of the northerly return of the wall. The work was permitted last year with an ongoing condition to come before the commission prior to any additional beach nourishment activities, which is why I'm here today. And at this point, if there's any other questions or concerns regarding the work, I'd be happy to address them.
The first question I have is, have you discussed this with the shellfish constable?
No, I have not.
I think that would be a good idea.
I agree. And Hillary and I spoke about this briefly, and we would plan on involving her with the pre-construction meeting.
Okay. And when did you have in mind to do this work?
The start date would, according to the owners, there's a high tide towards the end of the month, and June 28th would be their preferred start date, which would be after that high tide. This is the owners of 83 Samoset that has mentioned this. So the purpose of the work is to be completed at the same time as the nourishment next door at 83 Samoset Ave, where annual beach nourishment is placed along the face of the revetment. So it would be the last week in June and into the beginning of July. So basically that week between June 28th and July 2nd.
Okay. Barbara?
Yeah, I just want to ask, this is being put landward of the stone wall there?
Correct. This would be landward of the existing concrete wall. So just in the area behind the wall, not on the beach side.
What about the next door areas? That's on the beach side too? Or?
Yes, once I figured that it would make sense for the sake of the hearing, to do this one first, and then, I guess this isn't a hearing, for the sake of the discussion, to do this one, then 65. But if you would like, I can address any concerns for the proposed nourishment of 65 Samoset as well.
Yeah, I'm wondering why one's going landward and one's going seaward of the revetments.
Okay, so the work at 83 Samoset has always been seaward of the rock revetment, just that the rock revetment is built further into the bank here, which I can bring up a picture if Hillary, if you don't have one of 83 Samoset. You have the discussion here. I can bring up.
Yeah, I think I
sorry.
have the two pictures you sent me, and I'm not sure which is which just by looking at this.
Okay, so that's down at 65 Samoset. Let me bring up a picture of.
I can stop sharing so you can share.
Let's see. Give me 1 second to find it. Oh, perfect. That's a great one. Okay. Let's see. Share screen. Sorry. Wow. Okay. I should be sharing the screen with everybody on there if everybody can see that.
Oh, we just see John.
Can you all see this picture now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the picture where the stairs are coming right down the middle of the picture, the property where the stairs are coming right down the middle of the picture is 83 Samoset Ave. And the nourishment is placed right along the face of the bank here, just to cover up the rock revetment as it gets exposed on a general slope here, just to they fill in around the stairs here. And that's been done the last several years in a row. And the nourishment at the 77 site is just on the landward side of the wall. Really doesn't make any sense placing sand on the landward side because it would get washed out in the first tidal cycle, most likely.
But
And the sand on the landward side is just to fill in the void space that forms, oops, wrong way, after some erosion of the area takes place. This year, it hasn't been quite as bad as the previous year. Last year, the erosion was pretty significant and it required 40 yards to fill. This year, it would be significantly less, maybe on the order of 15 to 20 cubic yards in this particular area, with most of it being focused in the corner of the wall.
Is the idea to just fill it in so there's sand up to the top of it?
That's correct, maybe just below the top of the wall, but yeah, similar to what was done last year, which I'm gonna bring up some pictures as well. Just to temporarily help protect the backside of the wall for the next year, and hopefully next year, this wall will have all of the approvals that it needs to be reconstructed, which of course, this wall was just approved by the commission a few weeks ago to be reconstructed as a rock revetment into the bank, similar to what happened here at 83 Samoset.
Barbara?
yeah, how will this renourishment actually benefit the resource? It'll benefit the homeowners, but I'm not sure how it's going to benefit the resource, because the purpose of sand renourishment is to put it back into the system so it can go where it naturally should go, not necessarily to protect.
Yeah, so eventually, the beach dirt and the sand will, as shown last year, this area was, oops, sorry, direction again. This area was filled just about up to the top of the concrete wall last year. And now all of it, or not all of it, but the 2 or 3 feet, which is exposed here, has been eroded. And once that sand has eroded, it has likely replenished the adjacent beaches in this area. So it is more volume to the beach system here. It isn't a downside to the resource area. In fact, it does help reinforce the concrete wall, which serves as a coastal bank resource area, and that it provides stabilization and protection to the coastal bank, which is one of the main functions of a coastal bank. So for these 2 reasons, it does eventually attribute volume of sand to the beach area, and it does also serve to help maintain the concrete seawall in the short term until it is eventually reconstructed.
Is that satisfactory, Barbara? Or is that?
Well, I'm still very tortured by this idea of putting sand there when it's really not it's not a coastal bank, it's an artificial structure. So
Well,
that's
which
my comment.
by regulatory definition, a coastal bank can be a structure, and in this case, this is part of the coastal bank. And then in this case, this is a project that was permitted last year. It does have an open order of conditions. And at this point, we are looking to do essentially what was done last year to a smaller extent. Less sand is going to be required. And hopefully this is the last time this is done. Again, this is just to provide a little bit more stability to this existing structure, which is failing. And, oh my gosh, keep going.
Well,
As you look further to the south down the wall, there's, which I may not have got a picture of it the other day, but as you look further south on the wall, maybe down in this area here, there's several cracks on the seaward face of the wall, which as it overtops with water, this area does collect and ponds water, which as the tide recedes, that water tries to flow back out with the tide. And once the water is trying to flow back out, it sucks some of the sand out from this side of the wall and pulls the sand out through the void spaces in the wall. The tide following a higher high tide that's associated with some wind energy, you'll see little piles of sand on the seaward side of the wall. So it does, obviously the purpose of the wall is to maintain the toe of the coastal bank. But it is failing in that it does allow sand to seep through it, and it is of course in need of reconstruction, which we've addressed in the previous notice of intent hearing to reconstruct the wall.
Are there any concerns?
you.
that we should.
You're welcome.
What action is required of us, Hillary?
I guess, Hillary, I'll leave that up to you.
Okay, well, I'm waiting. Hillary's evidently stepped away for a second. I think the condition is that we're informed of it, right? And have a chance to evaluate it.
I believe so. I can bring up the order of conditions. And I guess at this point, if Hillary stepped away, we could address the request for a jurisdictional opinion for the property two doors down at 65 Samoset, because this isn't, I guess, a formal hearing where a vote is required at this point, right?
We still vote on jurisdictional opinions.
Okay.
But this subject here is not necessarily this isn't a jurisdictional opinion, right? So.
No, this one was just a notification for a discussion.
Right, but the next one is a JO, right?
Right.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right.
Is that the property we're looking at now? The JO?
No, this is still the same property, 77. This is 77 Samoset Ave, and then this is 83 Samoset.
So where's the JO, Charlie?
That is. That is this property here, which I can show on I did prepare an exhibit plan. I'll bring that up.
Hillary's back. So
Okay, Hillary's back. Hillary,
Yes.
on this issue of the replenishment, is there any action that we need to take if we don't disagree?
No, for that one, it was just agreed upon in the order that Charlie would come back if he wanted to do more nourishment. So he was coming back to inform you.
Right, okay. So I guess we're ready to move on to the jurisdictional opinion on 65 Samoset Avenue.
Okay, great. Well, this property is located 2 properties to the south. This is 77 Samoset. This is 70, which is a vacant lot. And this is 65 Samoset Ave. And the proposal here is essentially the same, to place nourishment behind the concrete wall. This concrete wall was constructed in the mid-1980s and is in great shape in the current condition of it. The top of the wall does have some areas where it's chipped away from ponded water getting behind it, and then being retained during the tidal cycle. And then as it's retained in the wintertime, it can freeze and cause cracks. As it seeps through the ground, it can also freeze while it's in the ground, which has caused some cracking at the top of the concrete wall. Over time, the sand has been very well retained by the wall. If I can bring up a picture here. Since 1985, the grade has only dropped by a foot to a foot and a half in certain areas here. So essentially what we're looking to do is the same project and fill the area from the grassy areas out to just about the top of the concrete wall, which will serve as protection for the wall. And again, to protect the wall, to maintain it, in which maintaining it without doing any type of structural repairs, using a soft solution in the sand, which as water washes over, it will slowly erode over time. The volume for the beach nourishment will be approximately 15 to 20 cubic yards. I estimate about 80 cubic yards. I will bring up an exhibit plan that I prepared just to show it a little bit better.
What's that structure in the middle of the picture that's up now? Is that, it looks like it might be a stake for, what is that?
Horseshoes. It's a horseshoe stake.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Oh, there's the other one, right, okay.
And what about the, it looks like part of the stairs are sitting on the coastal bank behind to the right?
Yeah.
That may be where they, let me see. So this is the property here. See if I don't necessarily know what that was there. Yeah, oh, that's what that is. That is the seasonal section of stairs that go from the wall down to the beach, it looks like.
Yeah, that should not be on the grass.
No, I agree, and I can let him know that in the off season he should store it in the sandy area rather than the grass area of the bank to protect the vegetation, which I'm sure he's going to be looking to install the stairs anytime now.
Presumably after you pour more sand.
Yes, correct. I would think that whatever contractor would place the sand could do the stairs as well while they're there on site. And here's an exhibit plan which shows the location of the beach nourishment. Again, essentially the same scope as the previous project at 77 Samoset Avenue. Here's a sketch that shows the general area here. Again, 83 Samoset, 77, and 65 Samoset Avenue. The intention here, and by doing to review this project through a jurisdictional opinion, the goal here is to allow this work on a one-time basis sooner rather than later. The contractor for this project, the annual work, and for the permanent work at 77 Samoset Avenue will be on site this June. And if we can get this work permitted through this one-time approach here through the jurisdictional opinion, the same contractor could potentially do the work and be in and out of the site within a couple hours or so. The sediment would be delivered through, I believe that's the town landing at Nauset Road, and then would drive from Nauset Road down the beach around the rock groins as they've previously done. This Google Earth image was actually taken. It looks right after the nourishment was done here a few years ago. So the trucks would follow, the front end loader would take the same access, would go up and around the groins, would do this work, do the work at 77 Samoset, and then would potentially go down and dump the material behind the wall, where it can be then graded by hand or with a small excavator that would reach over the top, however a contractor would do it. And it would take a couple hours and the work would be completed. And since the wall has done a great job of holding that sand in over the last few decades here, this should be a one-time nourishment project that would be great to include with this current project while the contractor's on site, just to reduce the amount of trips in and out of the resource area.
John.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a project that bothers me a lot, except for the fact that we call this beach nourishment, and it's not beach nourishment. It's sand put in behind a seawall, and it's not beach nourishment. So
I agree with you there, and by terminology, it could be considered bank nourishment. And a lot of coastal bank nourishment projects, like if we're doing a rock revetment nourishment, if a rock revetment is permitted and requires annual nourishment, a lot of times the nourishment is placed along the face of the rock revetment. So again, that's maybe considered, quote unquote beach nourishment, where it's actually more of a bank re-nourishment. So I agree with you, which is why on the plan, I don't say proposed beach nourishment. It's really more of a bank nourishment here.
Barbara, did you have something?
I'm just going to play devil's advocate, and I was actually thinking along the same lines as John, that it's not really, as far as I can tell, benefiting the resource. It's giving the homeowners a little bit more beach for the summer, and maybe in a few years it'll be gone, but they'll have more. We're giving them a beach, basically. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, they already have a beach. The intention is not to place over.
They don't have a beach at high tide because they put the wall in. So this is their beach at high tide. We're giving them a beach at high tide. That's my devil's
Right.
advocate position here.
Okay.
And I hear that there. So we're not increasing the square footage of the beach. It's they already have a beach. They already have an area to sit out there with chairs or whatever else. This really doesn't affect that. And we're not proposing to put any sand on the vegetated areas where the vegetation is successfully growing. It's really just filling in the area where water sits. And over time, you know, this wall is built to a deeper depth than the wall at 77 Samoset Ave. So it takes a longer time for the water to percolate through the ground and erode that sediment from the backside of the wall and undermine the existing wall. That process has taken a longer time here. But as it shows, I mean, that sand does erode and then eventually erodes and transports somewhere else. So that sand will continue through that same process. And again, right here, the sand does serve to slightly protect the concrete wall just by reducing the amount of water that can collect in the area during these storms, and by reducing the damage to the wall from the collecting water during the winter storms. It does protect the wall, which is one of the primary regulatory measures of what a coastal bank does, is a sand source for downdrift beaches, as well as shorefront protection to upland structures. And this wall is already existing and does serve to protect the area from coastal storms. So this would help to protect that measure of the wall.
Right. Thank you, Charlie. I guess the question would be, does it harm or really even change the environment to do this? And it doesn't sound like it. I mean, it's there, it's done. We're not changing the way the waves are reflecting or not reflecting, and so.
Yeah, that's right. I had a chance to walk the beach at low tide the other day, as shown in the pictures, which I can bring up here. I had to visit several sites in Wellfleet that day, and as you can see, this particular site doesn't necessarily have any shellfishing or any exposed oysters here in the intertidal zone. I was at a site at another location where there were plenty of oysters out in the seaward area and on the flats in front of the rock revetment. This area is low enough so the tide does hit the wall. However, it doesn't appear to be quite low enough so that this is an active shell fishing area. Now, I do know that the fishermen and women do drive up and down the beach with their trucks and equipment. And this is an area where it is somewhat trafficked to get out to their oyster area. So the access for equipment up and down in front of the wall here shouldn't be an adverse impact to shellfish. And the contractor will backblade the area afterwards. And as shown as in the project of 77 Samoset Avenue last year, there were no tire tracks or anything else left in front of Samoset Ave after the work was completed. And that would be the same for 65 Samoset Ave.
Hillary, question, are shell fishermen actually driving that beach? There are no grants out there.
They shouldn't be driving out there if there are no,
Driving out there, no.
if there are no grants out there. I wonder if some of them might just be taking a little spin. I haven't seen any cars out there.
Yeah, there shouldn't be, because it's not an area approved for aquaculture.
Ow.
I've definitely seen them down at 21 Samoset and down in the offshore area there. I think I remember seeing them down this way. Maybe I have the two confused, but again, as you can see through these pictures here, it doesn't appear to have any active live oysters in front of the wall here.
Are there any other, John?
Yeah, if we do approve this, I want a condition that there be no activity on the grassy area, storing of kayaks or stairs in the winter or other kinds of activity. It seems to me if we're giving these people a beach, we should also get from them some guarantee that what's left of the coastal bank at least be protected.
That seems pretty reasonable to me, especially since they're clearly not following the rules here. Barbara, did you have something to say?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay. Does anybody else have anything to say? I'll entertain a motion.
Hey, Leon, I move that we approve the JO for 65 Samoset Avenue for nourishment, sand nourishment.
Do we have a amount for that?
That's a good
I'm
question.
sorry, was that a question for me?
Yes.
How much sand?
No, the volume, I estimate about 18 cubic yards.
Okay, and 18 cubic yards is what we will approve.
With the condition of no storage of materials on the bank.
Correct.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Unenthusiastically.
Okay, we'll have a voice vote. Ben,
Yes, yes,
John,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes,
Barbara?
Abstain?
Okay, and I'll vote yes. So it's approved with a condition as stated by John Cumber.
Thank you very much.
Okay, are there any other jurisdictional opinions?
If we don't have any other jurisdictional opinions, there's two things I would like to talk about in our business meeting
Okay,
is, and maybe you talked about it before I got on, meeting in July and August. Did we talk about that?
not yet.
I think we should talk about that. And the other is we need to talk about the staircase that's been put in at the Blash House, contrary to our order of conditions.
And I
Let's
have,
start with the latter.
I have one other thing too, Leon, when
Okay,
time-
Barbara, what would that be?
that would be the destruction of signage at Field Point about kayak storage.
Somebody destroyed it?
I think the state, well, we'll talk about it, but let's put that
Okay.
on. the agenda.
All right. I'd like to start with the second issue that John brought up, which is the stairway, Hillary. What are we going to do about that?
So we're working with town council. We did have a condition on our most recent order that required them to come to us before any work was done on the bank. We also have a previous order allowing them to install the stairs. So town council is reviewing all of the documents and will guide us in our approach.
So there was an order after the one that John is referencing?
No, there was a previous order that dealt with the stairs and allowed them to reinstall the stairs. And that
Okay.
was their ongoing condition. However, when we approved the structure that's there, the emergency certification, and then the notice of intent for that structure, we put a condition on there that said any work on the bank requires notification to the conservation agent or the Conservation Commission, and we were not notified of anything.
Right.
So town council is reviewing it all and will let us know how to proceed.
Okay, John, can we hold off on the July and August discussion? I'd like to hear what Barbara has to say.
Okay,
It's pretty minor, but I was at Field Point today, Fox Island Wildlife Management Area, and I saw two new signs which had been uprooted, and the signage had actually been taken off the signs. And I contacted the state because I think they were property of the state, telling people that they couldn't put kayaks on state property at the end of Field Point. There are already kayaks out there. So I don't know what's going to happen, but this is kind of frustrating for me because we spend so much time trying to do kayak storage education, and someone vandalized the signs, which I think were telling people not to store their kayaks there. So I just wanted to report that, and I'll get confirmation from the state that those were indeed their signs. And Hillary, we were supposed to put signs up at landings as well, and I don't know where that stands as far as the town putting up signs. But I think kayaks are already going out there. There've been so many people here.
Yeah, So we have not put out signs. I do not believe we have the signs yet. I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that.
Hillary, I think I saw in DPW a whole slew of signs saying only permitted vessels here.
Yeah, I know they're not out yet. I will touch base with Doug on that and Jordan, and see if we can get them out, and then we'll just have to remove the ones that aren't in the right spot as per the regulation.
Yeah, that is disheartening though, Barbara. I think that trying to get people to do what's the right thing is kind of like trying to hold back the tide sometimes. Okay, so let's talk about July and August. I already told you that I was going to be gone on the 16th. I will be back in time, I think, for the next meeting. But I'm going to be staying through July and probably well into August. I'm going to be down in Orleans, staying down there, which isn't debilitating. It just means I have to drive back and forth quite a bit during the summer traffic. John, what are your plans?
I will be probably,
I gotta write all this down so I don't lose track. I know Barbara was taking off July and August.
I will be,
I had you down for missing June 16th.
Yep.
And being back in time for the first meeting in July, which I still don't have my July calendar yet.
Right.
Okay,
It should be the 2nd, I think, but maybe not.
I'm not into July yet, but I'll get there.
July
Looks
is-
like, it looks like July 7th.
Yeah, 7th.
Okay,
So I should be back in time for that.
okay, perfect.
I will be gone the second meeting in August.
Okay, so Chris Bates, do you have the calendar that you can just tell me the dates? Because I just want to make sure I have this right. Because I don't think we'll be able to meet in August for that second meeting if we don't have John and we don't have Barbara.
Okay, I just am going to need to get into my Word, okay? Hang on.
Okay. Yeah, we can wait a minute.
Yeah, it's August 4th and August 18th.
Okay, so no John for August 18th. And June. Okay, who else is going somewhere?
Mike, are you going anywhere?
No, I'm here.
Okay, so it looks like then we have to cancel August 18 unless we happen to get a new member.
Speaking of new member, I heard a rumor a few weeks ago that you were working on somebody. Has anything happened with that?
No, but we're working on somebody. But we don't have commitment yet, but we're working it.
It
So
must be resisting valiantly.
no, it's not resistance. We just have to coddle and like move them in slowly, you know?
Yeah, I know how that goes.
And
All right.
Hillary,
It's gonna be promising, I'm hopeful, but that's only one person.
Yeah,
Hillary, as you know, I'm going to be kicked off at the end of June unless I'm renewed by the select board.
Do you want to be renewed?
Yeah, I applied in April, but I haven't heard anything back.
No. Okay,
They've been busy.
let me touch base with Jean Mack about that because you should have heard back.
Yeah, you should have been asked to go to a meeting to get, renewed.
yeah.
Your term is up the end of June?
Yes,
Okay, and you reapplied in April.
right. And I just sent another electronic copy of the application to you and to Ms. Kongel today.
Okay, I'll follow up on that again. I did see that email come through. So Chris, can you go ahead and cancel the August 18th meeting and we'll reschedule those folks for the September meeting?
Weren't you going to wait to see if somebody new was going to be on before we cancel?
I guess I'm questioning whether we're gonna get anybody on by then, so I'd rather not have to have them all scheduled and then have to cancel them all.
Yeah, it's daunting at the start of summer to get new volunteer.
Is there a big backlog of applications?
Not yet for that meeting date, not yet. We don't have any for that date yet.
Any other discussion or statements? Ben, are you gonna be here all summer?
Yep.
All righty.
I see that we have the harbor master here. I'm not sure if he had something in particular he wanted to discuss with us.
The
And then
dredging?
we have Anne here as well.
Nothing in particular, just joining in here. We got the dredging coming up, so I'm just here participating.
Thank you.
Okay,
Problem.
and, okay. All right, so did we get any mail? Mail didn't even make it to, oh yeah, mail and discussions. Did we get any mail? Anybody know?
I usually check the mail, but I don't go in the building anymore, so I don't know if there's any.
Christine, do you know of any mail that we've gotten?
I am not aware of any right offhand. The bin, that doesn't ever look like it gets bigger.
No, most of our mail comes in electronically and I send you what I think is relevant.
Okay, so we won't talk about that anymore. Finally, I guess we have last meeting minutes to approve.
Right.
Has anybody seen those minutes?
Yes, Barbara circulated the version that I edited.
Mhm. All right, would somebody, Mike, since you edited it, would you like to move that we accept it?
Yes, I move that we accept the minutes of, was it May? What is it?
Good question.
That's in the past, I don't remember.
I can run and look it up. It's on it.
No, I can find it. Yes, May 19th.
Second, Barbara.
Okay, we'll have a voice vote. Ben,
Yes.
John,
Yes,
Mike,
Yes,
Barbara,
Yes.
and Leon, yes, so those are accepted. We have about 20 minutes before the hearing starts. Does anybody else have anything they want to say, or shall we adjourn for?
I do want to say something. I want to come back to the Chequasit Neck Road issue.
Okay,
I want to note that we've looked at the order of conditions, but if we have a discussion of this, I would like the minutes for that meeting to be talked about, because I voted in favor of letting them put the sand-filled bags on the condition that they would not put that staircase back in and further undermine the bank. So if they end up getting away with putting the staircase in, I want to see the minutes and talk about why that happened.
With the applicant or without the applicant?
That you tell me.
Well, I think town council should review those minutes and the vote.
Yes,
Right.
and they are.
Okay.
so it sounds like that's on track. It may
I
not
think
be.
it's on track. I mean, you know, they don't work clearly as fast as we'd like, but they have everything in their possession, so we're just awaiting a response.
Okay. Anything else anybody would like to discuss?
What about the planting brochure that Jordan had worked on for us? I circulated that maybe this morning or yesterday. I can't remember when I sent that around.
I've not had a chance to look at it.
Okay.
Yep. I haven't been on my,
Okay, so maybe just have a look and email your thoughts or comments. It looks really great, and it would be good to get that out there. So have a look and get back to us.
Hillary, can I ask one question? So I think it may be generational, but the font that she uses is distinctive. It's not your standard fonts. I mean, it seems like it's sort of uneven. Is that just my copy of it?
No, but we could certainly change the font if it's a font issue.
Well, no, it's just you want something as authoritative looking as possible, and this looks a little bit playful, but that may be aesthetic.
Okay,
No, I think Michael has a point. I
Yeah,
see
it
a
doesn't-
a lot of things coming in with playful fonts that you don't take as seriously as something that has a more authoritative font. So,
Maybe it should look like it's been stenciled on concrete.
I was gonna say it doesn't look authoritative at all. So if we're going for authoritative, going for authoritative, we could certainly change the font. So that would be a good comment.
So this is, I think I've got it up for you.
yeah, I see that. Yeah, it's got to be, especially for some of us who've used to use a typewriter, it needs to be a little more authoritative.
Got it.
I would just add that I do like the cover page because this folds in 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I do think that the front doesn't necessarily have to be authoritative. I think you want to make it appealing and actually make people want to open it up and make it nice looking. But the rest, I agree, that should be like Times New Roman or something.
Something more standard, but
But
yeah.
the idea is very good. And the message that you sent had a number of links to other documents that Jordan drew from.
Yeah.
Do the QR codes get you to that?
Yes.
Good.
That's very modern of us, jeez.
Yeah, I know. I liked that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, my phone's so old, I can't even use QR codes.
Okay, so maybe we need to add a line about if you don't have access to QR codes, materials are available upon request or something.
Or
Yeah.
just a web link.
Yes, that too.
But the idea of it is very good. I think we agree about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
good.
If
Yeah.
you guys
I'd
want
say
to
that
put
most
it
people
up at the
have.
harbor, feel free.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, we're getting a new bulletin board with the Chamber of Commerce, and we're also handing out a bunch of things. But you know, people do kind of stand there around the bathroom area where things are posted and read all this stuff while they're waiting. So feel free.
Great.
On another note, have we had a discussion about when we will be meeting in person?
No, the governor extended the remote meetings through September. So, I mean, we can meet in person before then, or we can wait until that time. I think our applicants prefer meeting online, but the choice is yours.
Yeah, I mean, we got that note from an applicant, but personally, I would rather we met in person.
Then we have the issue of finding us a meeting space, which we can, check back out with Suzanne. And the Board of Health is having a meeting next week to talk about COVID policies. So hold tight until after that meeting, and let's see where we are.
What
Okay.
was the grassroots poll here? What would be your preference, Mike, as far as
Well, I would like for us to meet. The applicants can still send in, if we can get a projector, I can manage that. They could be remote and we wouldn't have to worry about whether they're inoculated or not.
Mhm.
But I think if we meet, that really helps.
yeah? Okay, Ben, how do you feel?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So a hybrid meeting where we're in person, but they're zooming in? Is that,
Yeah, I mean, that would be an option. If they prefer it that way, it shouldn't be a problem about doing it.
and Barbara, what's your feeling on it?
I would not want to meet in person yet, and especially not in the town hall basement.
No,
So,
not, definitely not the town hall basement.
so I like that idea. I mean, I think if we're all vaccinated, we could be in the town hall basement possibly, but
Mhm.
not have any of the applicants or public there. They would have to be remote.
So it sounds like the open meeting law has been, it's been extended to as far as the ability to have a remote meeting. So that wouldn't preclude having a hybrid meeting where we can all be together, but the people Zoom in and anybody can watch via Zoom.
I just wonder how we would, well, and maybe we don't have to get a camera or a screen so that they could see us.
They could just hear us.
They could hear us, yeah. I don't know if it would be weird. I don't know. Well, we'll talk about it. I mean,
Yeah, well, that's some good ideas. And I agree with Barbara that getting 20 people into a small room like that for an hour or so at a time is not a good idea.
yeah, no way.
Well,
Okay.
especially not with the variants. I mean, I would like us to meet someplace. I'd rather not be in the basement, but with the variants, and I don't trust stranger people coming in to our meetings.
Right, and it's a public meeting, so anyone could come. You can't bar people from coming.
And we can't demand they show their vaccine card. Although I would prefer that.
Okay, well, with the variants, it may not even make any difference, but we don't know yet. Okay, enough on that discussion, I guess, unless somebody else has something they'd like to say.
So Leon, can I make an announcement?
Yes, Mike.
Yes, so the Herring River Overlook Trail is now officially open. There's a
great.
small parking area, and the trails are more or less marked with arrows, and there's still a few orange tapes, but anyone in the public can certainly use that. And you
Cool.
gave an approval for the area that's near the lowland, sort of the wetland area.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So that's great.
that sounds great.
Beautiful spot.
Yeah, it is. Good for all of us. Okay, I would like to take a 10-minute break. Is anybody else against that?
Before we take the break, am I on mute? Oh, no, before we take the break, Behringer is going to be continued. Just so you can make that announcement, at the beginning of the meeting.
And
All
we
right.
didn't get any
It wasn't-
paperwork from Behan, did we?
We did not get any new work from Behan that I am aware of either, or that we could find. I did talk with them about their septic inspection and their septic system, and they did not have it inspected way back when because they were going to construct the new system. So they do have to have it inspected. So I'm sure we'll talk about that again during the hearing tonight.
Okay.
And they want to put the building where they proposed it.
So Behringer wasn't on the agenda, but it was previously continued till tonight.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. All right.
So we have to find the old Behan records then, the old,
Yep. Should have them from our previous meeting.
all right. We have to go, some of us have to go look.
Okay. All right. You got your 10 minutes.
All right. So I move that we adjourn the business meeting.
Second,
All right. Ben,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
and Mike.
yes.
Okay, we'll be back at 5 o'clock. Uh, Thank you. Ben, are you here? Mike, are you here?
Yes, I'm here, Michael.
Hey, look at that. We can see Michael.
No,
Look.
not for long.
You're so shy. Barbara, are you here? We've got a quorum, so we can go ahead and start.
I'm here.
Okay, hi Barbara. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, 18 through 25, as amended by the Chapter 28 of the Act of 2009, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Wellfleet Environmental Protection Bylaw of July 1986, and the regulations of January 2000, the Wellfleet Conservation Commission will hold public hearings on Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 5 o'clock, with the business meeting starting at 4 via remote meeting. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's orders imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, no in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted at this time. Town hall is closed to the public. Board members will participate in this meeting remotely. And in attendance, we have John Cumler, Benjamin Fairbank, Michael Fisher, and Barbara Benison on the board.
Plus you,
Pardon me?
plus you.
Plus me, Leon Street. Thank you. I forgot about myself. So before I start, the Boehringer hearing was continued in a previous meeting to tonight, but they're not ready, so we're not going to have that hearing. So the first hearing that we're going to hear is the town of Wellfleet, maps 21 and 20, parcels 114 and 31, amendment to a previous, I guess, an NOI SEO 72-1560. Is there anybody to represent that?
Yes, Commissioner. This is Dan Robbins with GEI Consultants.
Okay, Dan. Okay.
We also have Alyssa Richard and Will Sullivan, the harbor master, is also on as well.
Okay.
So we are here, previously we had submitted a notice of intent for dredging of Wellfleet Harbor, which was approved. However, it came to our realization that a small portion behind the floating docks and adjacent to the bulkhead had been omitted from that permit. And so this amendment here is to revise and include that portion, which was previously included in the prior permits in 1999 and previously dredged in 2001.
Okay. Are there any questions about that from the members of the commission? Are there any comments from the public?
Just to give a little bit of background there, the area that we are requesting is a total additional square footage of about 17,000 square feet. However, of that, there's about only about 8,700, which was not previously impacted due to side slope correction during the dredging. And the total yardage that would be removed additionally would be about 4,000 yards. So those quantities are about 1% additional increase over the project quantities currently.
Okay, any other comments? I'll entertain a motion. If somebody would like to make one.
So moved, John Cumbler.
Okay, so we're going
Second
to,
Barbara, second Barbara.
all right. John, you want to vote first?
Yes.
Benjamin,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes,
Barbara,
Yes,
and Leon, yes. So that's a go.
but what form do we fill out? I don't think we have do we have a specific form, Hillary? Because I don't have an amended, whatever it is, form.
Order of conditions, and then we just check the box for amendment.
Okay, so just a regular Form 5.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Hillary, can I just ask quickly? This is Alyssa Richard from GI.
Yes.
This will need to be re-recorded, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to be sure, but I will take care of that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Okay, we have two certificates of compliance to consider. The first one, Stewart, map 41, parcel 127, 240 Bayberry Lane, certificate of compliance. Is there anybody here to represent that? Hillary, have you or Doug gone out there?
We have been out there in the past. I do not know currently which projects they're for. So I would suggest if there's no one present to detail them for us, that we do go ahead and continue them to our next meeting.
There
Okay.
is one from December 2nd, 2020, which is installing retaining walls around the perimeter. I mean, I have no trouble about extending, but I think if we look at the minutes, can you see the minutes?
Yes.
That's the only thing I could find in the past minutes.
But we don't know if it's been done, and if it's been done according to our.
Oh, and that's an RDA, so that's not that's not.
That's not it?
Yeah, no, it's older. So I think I would suggest we hold off on it if no one's present until our next meeting.
Right, so that would apply to both of those.
Exactly.
All right, so I need a motion.
I will move that we continue Stewart, map 41, parcel 127, 240 Bayberry Lane, certificate of compliance. And there are two separate certificates of compliance that need to be filed. I move both of them be continued.
Second, Michael?
All right, John, how do you vote?
Yes, yes.
Benjamin?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Leon, yes. So those are continued. Okay. So the next one is Behan, 265 Ridgeway, map 24, parcel 146, an NOI to relocate an existing dwelling presently within the buffer zone and placing it into a new foundation outside the buffer zone. New well is required. Have we gotten any more information about this, Hillary?
We don't have any new information. It looks like David's here. And we had a discussion, David and I, about the septic and requiring a septic inspection, just to see what's going on there. But David can lead the discussion here for us.
Hey, good afternoon, David Joy here. At the last meeting, there was some questions about what the project consisted of, the size of the dwelling that was being proposed as relocated, where the driveway were and so forth. So the plan that we originally submitted is correct. The existing dwelling shown to be relocated is the same building that's going to be where the new locations be to the west. The building's going to be elevated in place and put on cribbing, so it's above the ground. The foundation will be poured for the new location, and then the dwelling is going to be rolled back, twisted to be in the configuration that it is, shown as the relocated area, and then put down on the foundation, the new foundation. The foundation and all the debris from where the existing dwelling is will be removed. There was question about where the parking is on the site. The driveway, which is on Ridgeway Road predominantly, is where they park. If you look at a solid line, it says existing fence, it's a solid line with an X in it. There's 3 of those. One's between the 2 buildings. One goes south from the existing building location down to where the existing septic tank is. And then it goes over towards the existing driveway and ultimately connects with the cottage. Does everybody see that?
Not saying it.
Or do you have any questions about it?
Can someone put that up on the screen?
Yeah,
I don't know if I have it electronically, but let me have a look here.
Just that last part about the driveway, which we had questions about. I couldn't find my paperwork, sorry.
While you're looking for that, I have a question. Can you talk to me about the new foundation?
Yes, it's conventional foundation, concrete.
What's going to be on the floor of the foundation?
The new dwelling, I'm sorry, the existing dwelling is going to be picked up and moved over and put on top of the new foundation.
I understand that. My question is the new foundation just going to be walls? Is it going to have a floor under it? In other words, is that some
Yes, I'm
is there a
sorry.
basement there or not?
Yes, I'm sorry, full basement.
It is a full basement.
Yes.
How high above the ground is the house?
You'll see that the top of foundation says elevation 85. The existing ground there is around 84 to 82, so 83. It'll be 2 feet out of the ground.
What's the height between the floor of the foundation, the basement, and the ceiling?
It'll be the standard foundation, 7 foot 6 inches.
I do not have the plans electronically to pull up. David, if you have
Yep,
the ability, could you share screen and show the plan?
I don't think I do either.
that's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Basically, did anyone go to the property?
We did before.
Okay, you saw the fence around, coming off the driveway, there's a fence that looks like a place for dogs, or there's a fire pit in the middle of it. It's 3 to 4 feet out of the ground. There's wire mesh all around it. It's made out of wood. Predominantly the structure part is, and it's not an area that they're gonna park in.
that's where they're gonna put the house?
No, sir.
No.
No,
Does where the house is now, is it on a foundation?
very makeshift, varying types, block, wood.
Okay, so in other words, you're moving from sort of blocks and partial foundation to a foundation with a full basement. Where's the entrance to the basement?
It'll be within the building. I don't know where the bulkhead's gonna be, but it'll be a standard bulkhead. Either made out of concrete, precast, or poured into the foundation.
The new site is out of our jurisdiction, I understand.
Yes,
But we just have to be concerned that the old site is taken care of.
Right.
absolutely.
Whatever's there is removed, the old stones or whatever foundation is gonna be taken out.
Absolutely. Everything, and then revegetated.
All right.
Do we have a vegetation plan or revegetation plan?
I don't, I basically have some notes.
I think it
Beach
was,
grass and native planting.
I think that was the plan, to just cover it with beach grass.
So talk to us about the septic system.
Okay. The septic system was installed for a prior owner, 1994. It's a septic tank and a leach pit. You had reviewed projects for this site for a new septic system with an increase in bedrooms because there was another building that the owner owned on an adjacent parcel to the north. That building was removed because it was going over the bank. So there aren't any additional bedrooms proposed. There's 2 bedrooms in the existing house and 2 bedrooms in the existing cottage that's going to remain. So the septic system capacity is for 4 bedrooms. So we're not adding any bedrooms. So the connection to the septic system should be adequate. I remember that you asked for a sewage inspection. I believe the owner is trying to get that done of the existing septic system to show that it's usable still.
That's a bit of a health issue, right?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, so our concern, as Barbara pointed out, is just that the debris from the demo is properly disposed of away from the resource, and that the replanting isn't carried out.
Absolutely.
And that would include the area that's going to be disturbed when the house is actually trailered from one place to another.
Yes, we show a work limit. Typically, they're going to come in with a crane. They're first going to use jacks to elevate the existing building so that it can be then rolled on the ground to the new location.
That sounds spectacularly complicated.
It's typically not,
It's
I
not a deep-
believe the company that's going to do the work has done many of them.
Yeah.
It's pretty typical for this kind of scenario.
Is there any other questions by the commissioners?
There are no conditions then because they're all in the NOI. Is that right, Hillary?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, we could put on additional conditions if you have some. We're gonna have all the construction debris to be removed from the site.
Is that not in the original NOI?
It's in the NOI, but I think we're gonna specify it as a condition as well, just so that.
Okay, all right.
And I still would feel that we should have a planting plan, even if it's all beach grass.
Okay, so a planting plan to be submitted.
That was in the minutes from the last time as well.
Right, and that could cover how much area and if there's anything else aside from beach grass.
Sure.
Does anyone from the public have anything to
It
comment
looks
on
like,
this?
oh, Ben had his hand up, now his hand is down. Jeannie?
I have a question.
I have it, just a second. Jean Campus?
I can wait. Somebody, John, I believe, had a question. I can wait.
All right, John.
The septic system is within our jurisdiction, is it not?
Yes,
It's,
I'm sorry, Ellie, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say it is within our jurisdiction.
All right, I'm, this is, I'm not going to feel comfortable with this proposal, and the septic system is my concern.
Would you like to see a new septic system, John, or?
I would feel much more comfortable if I saw a advanced IA system there rather than a straight system, given the fact how close it is to the edge of the bank.
Okay.
And the fact they're moving a building and they're effectively creating a more substantial structure with a full basement, I would like to see a different septic system. And so I cannot approve it as it stands.
David, how far is the leach pit from the top of the bank?
53 or 4 feet or so.
53 or 54 feet?
Yep.
Okay.
In terms of the distance to what you typically have, I believe, for mean high water as the setback from a water body, it's about 170 feet, where you generally have a 100-foot requirement. Everybody understand that?
Yep. I did anyway.
And again, I don't have any problem with the concern about the new building, but it's the exact same building, no changes to it being moved. There's no increase in size.
Yes, Barbara?
I just have a sense that the erosion rate here is pretty substantial. And having a septic system that close to this particular coastal bank is not a good idea. And if it could be an advanced system, I would prefer that, and I would be able to sign on board if I knew that that was the case. This is going to be happening more and more on this coast, and you know, even if it's on the back shore, the town is still struggling with nitrogen remediation and all sorts of issues. And I think that we need to be proactive when we can about nitrogen in our waters.
David?
Yeah,
How do you-
I understand if the board has a straw vote or however you describe it, and they want IA treatment, the majority members do, then that's fine.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Zender.
again, I'm here on behalf of Susan B. And, you know, what the board's discussing right now are Board of Health issues, they're not conservation issues. The request here is to remove a structure from the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission and put it outside the conservation jurisdiction. There's no universe in which the Conservation Commission should be considering denying this application. And, you know, the septic system meets the current regulations for septic systems. As David said, the leach component is 170 feet from the water. You know, if this board, you can't just hold her up to put an IA because you think it's a good idea. They need to manage this project responsibly. They need to manage the vegetation. They need to manage the move itself. But, you know, for this board to all of a sudden decide that it's the Board of Health and to require an upgrade where the local regulations don't require an upgrade is overstepping the authority of the commission.
Well, so the board could then wait to vote on the project until the septic inspection report comes in and we see that the septic system is functioning appropriately.
That is true.
Ms. Campos.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, members of the commission. I represent the neighbor, Karen Elbing, next door at 255. And I just wanted to point out that the septic, Ms. Behan is proposing to move a house back, but yet the existing septic is closer to the coastal bank than the existing house that she's proposing to move back. And, you know, she had agreed, there was no inspection at the time she acquired the property because she agreed to put in a new septic, and that never happened. So I think it's more than fair to ask the applicant to go through with what she agreed upon back in 2013 before you grant any other relief related to this property, particularly where the existing septic is from 1994, where it is 50 feet from the coastal bank. And this was measured, you know, in October of last year. As you all know, we're losing a lot of ground every year. So this isn't even up to date, this plan. As to the bedroom count, if you go back and look at the ZBA history, there absolutely was a bedroom added to the cottage back in 2015. And if you look at the assessor's records, the assessor's cards show that one of the houses has 2 bedrooms and one has 3. There are a total of 5, not 4 bedrooms, according to the assessor's records. So I think the commission needs more information, from the applicant demonstrating the bedroom count. And I believe you asked for it last time and nothing was provided. So it's not the same house, there's a full basement. It's going to be using a septic that's closer to the coastal bank than the existing house. All we're asking is that the applicant proceed in a fashion that she agreed to, instead of skipping, picking and choosing what conditions of what permits she wants to comply with, and then going forward with additional projects. I mean, she's in breach of a 2015 condition that an A&R plan be recorded, creating a whole new lot. This lot is not the lot that was required by the ZBA. Again, it's just, picking and choosing what she wants to comply with in the permitting process, and then going forward with new projects without having closed the loop on the old projects.
What was the terms and condition you were talking about? What was that for? What was that attached to? What?
I'm sorry?
You're talking about the agreement to put in a new septic system. Where was that? Where was the condition specified?
I think that was brought out in the last hearing, that there was no inspection at the time because she had agreed to put in a new septic, and there was an order of conditions issued for that new septic. It was for a 6-bedroom septic, and it was never installed.
Correct.
And instead of doing 6 bedrooms on this site, there was a 3rd cottage at one point on an adjacent site, which is now technically supposed to be part of this parcel. It's not shown on any plans in front of you, but as was mentioned, that house was demolished, and the proposal at the time was to take the 2 bedrooms from that house and add 1 to each of the cottages on this property, combine the lots, and then you'd still have a total of 6 bedrooms with a 6-bedroom septic. I wasn't involved at all back then, so this is secondhand knowledge, but it looks to me from the records that the Seashore had an issue with the 6 bedrooms. It was reduced from 6 to a total of 5, but that there was an additional bedroom added to the structure that was renovated back in 2015. And so now you have a total of 5 bedrooms on a 4-bedroom septic that's within your jurisdiction, and that's from 1994 and is 50 feet from an eroding coastal bank. I think it's more than fair for you to require the applicant to at least get the septic tested and to at least provide evidence of the bedroom count that this is in compliance before you approve any further work on this parcel.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Zender.
I think Ms. Campus is right. I think it's probably appropriate for this board to condition an approval on the applicant having the septic system tested and then complying with any Board of Health regulations in effect with regard to both bedroom count and construction. So I think the inspection is something that needs to be done. But I don't think this board needs to get involved in determining what the bedroom count is on a house that's outside of the jurisdictional line, or what type of septic system should be in there. So I think, again, I would like to see the board move ahead with facilitating Ms. B and moving her house back, but impose a condition on the order of conditions that requires that the applicant have the septic system inspected, and that the health agent review the inspection report, and if any relief is required from the Board of Health, that they seek that relief.
That seems reasonable to me. So we had a condition last time that they had to have the inspection. We haven't had it yet. Evidently, they're working on it. So there's no decision to make now. I do want to find out if it's, what do we do if it's not acceptable to the health department?
If it's
Mr.
not
Chairman.
acceptable to the health department, then we would fail the system and require the upgrade of a new system.
Right, which would be a Title V at this time.
Correct. Depending on where the drinking water wells are and where they could site the system.
Right. And yes, Ms. Campus.
I just want to point out, if that's the case, the applicant will be right back before you with now a project to relocate a septic system. And why not just wait and have it all as one cohesive project when, quite frankly, she didn't do what she said she was going to do back in 2013.
Excuse me for a minute.
Yes,
The
David.
project was different in 2013. I have some issues with continuing to say the plan is incorrect. In 2013, the proposal was to add 2 bedrooms from a dwelling that was next door that she also owned. There was a total of 6 bedrooms and it did not have an IA treatment system. The building went in the ocean and they did not do any remodeling of the buildings that exist now on the Locust property. And that remains as the number of bedrooms that they have now.
No,
The septic system has not been inspected because of the time frame. The homeowner, I believe, has asked the health department to do a walkthrough to verify the number of bedrooms. The assessor's cards are not necessarily correct. So we've asked, I believe, the health department, when they have an opportunity, to do a walkthrough of the building, verify the number of bedrooms. At that point, the project should be able to be continued. The size of the building is not changing. The fact that there's a basement underneath the building does not change its size or its use or the number of bedrooms. Thank you.
So it would seem to me that there are a couple of unknowns here. And I think what I'm hearing from the commission members is that they would feel more comfortable waiting to get these pieces of material in to verify the number of bedrooms, to verify the septic system prior to voting.
Well, I guess Michael,
Not vote yes, right, with what we have. And I cannot see conditions that will make me vote yes at this point.
And Barbara Brunicel had lost connection and was trying to rejoin the meeting. So we've lost Barbara.
okay. So since I think that, I mean, we could go 2 ways with this. We could accept it with the condition that the sewer is either, I mean, the septic system is either inspected and accepted or replaced. And the only thing it can be replaced by bylaw right now is a Title V. And we don't really have anything to stand on to try to
I'd
insist
like
on IA.
Okay.
Huh?
I'm not sure if the owner's still online here. I believe she is. But I'll take it on my own that, sure, if the board wants some more information, why don't we get it for you and make things easy?
Thank you.
Right. Okay, so I need to hear a motion to continue.
So moved, Gumbler.
Second, Michael.
Okay, John, how do you vote?
Yes.
Benjamin,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barbara, is that you that just showed up? Somebody just called in. I thought it might be Barbara. And I vote yes, so that's a quorum.
Is that a 2-week continuance?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
What form, is there a form for this?
Nope, it's being continued.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David.
thank you.
Okay, the next one is McQuillan Augusta, 5 E Street, map 41, parcel 160 in NOI. For rebuilding an existing dwelling on existing foundation and construct additions and nothing. Is there somebody here to represent that?
Yeah,
Yes.
I thought I saw Matt Farrell. Oh,
Yep.
there you are, Matt. Hi, Matt.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Matt Farrell representing Lucy McQuilkin and Charles Acosta. At the meeting on May 5th, the commission kind of asked us to go back and look and see if we could reduce the size of the deck. So we have done that. We submitted revised site plans and revised architectural plans. We reduced the deck by about 349 square feet. We moved the limit of work in by about 5 feet. As such, we reduced the mitigation plantings. We moved the walkway closer to the dwelling. And I also submitted a letter dated May 25th describing the changes that we just discussed. And also that the architect of record has met with a few builders, and there's a possibility that we may need to replace the entire foundation in order to meet current building code. We have heard back from Natural Heritage. No issues, no take, and a letter from them. And with that, I'll open up to questions from the commission.
Is Barbara here now?
I thought she might have called in, but
She called in and I thought it might be her.
let me see.
Okay. So,
Barbara, is that you on the phone?
I think not.
Okay. Okay, so we do not have Barbara.
Right. Okay, are there any questions from the commissioners?
Can I just follow up on that last point about the foundation?
I'm sorry, you cut out there, Mike, at the very end.
Yes, I'd just like to ask a little bit more about that possibility of redoing the foundation.
Right.
So the only part of the foundation within the 100-foot is just one little corner. Would that be part of the rebuilding, do you think?
Yeah, we're actually, that part of the foundation is already being replaced with the current proposal. It was the rest of the pre-existing house. For what reason, I'm not sure, but she had a couple of builders look at it and they said that, you know, by the time they get the wood frame off and get to do an inspection and make sure that the footings are the proper size, they may need to replace it. It's the owners, they would rather leave it. But I just wanted to give the commission a heads up that it may need to be replaced. It really doesn't change our application because we're proposing a new foundation in what lands in your buffer zone anyway. I just wanted to be forthright with our application and just let you know that it's a possibility.
Okay, and the second question is, you're going to be reducing the mitigation planting area and the shrub numbers
Yes,
because the amount of disturbance is less.
correct.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there any statements from the public concerning this hearing? Well, it looks to me like you've listened to what we asked for and for the most part done what we asked. So the proposed screen porch is still there, right? With the roof?
Correct.
Okay, and that's within the 100. Okay.
And I think the conditions that we had suggested last time were no tree cutting. So
Yep.
that would continue.
No vista pruning or tree cutting without permission.
But I think that this is an improved plan.
I do too. Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion.
So I move that we approve McQuilkin Augusta 5 East Street, map 41, parcel 160, with the condition that there be no tree cutting.
And,
Second that, Ben.
all right. John? How would you like to vote?
No.
Ben?
Yes.
Who else do we have here? Mike?
Mike, yes.
And Barbara, you're not here yet? Okay, I vote yes. So that's not a quorum, I'm afraid. What can we reckon?
I have to find out if Barbara can come on. I'm the proposed screen porch with roof and deck is too much for me within the 100-foot buffer zone. I just think there's just too much activity in that spot. But that's me. Barbara may not have that problem. And if Barbara comes on and votes yes, that'll be the quorum.
Okay, well, we don't have Barbara. In the absence of Barbara, I guess, Matt, the screen porch is a must-have.
Well, I think if you look at the minutes from the last meeting, no one really had any issues with the screen porch. In fact, it was the size of the deck that that you folks wanted us to look at, and we looked at that and reduced it, and nobody had any issues with the screen porch.
So we have Barbara now. Perhaps you want to give her an overview of the project.
Actually, I heard on my phone, but I couldn't, you weren't hearing me. Even though I starred 6 and I unmuted, I had to restart my whole internet connection at home, and it took a while, but I actually approved the project with the conditions that were just mentioned.
Okay, perfect. So why don't we go ahead and take the vote again, Leon, just so we have a full vote
Just
for the
to
record.
clear and get a clean sweep at it. John,
No,
Benjamin,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and Leon, yes. So we have enough votes to accept this proposal.
Order of conditions form?
Yep.
Yep, okay.
Okay,
All right, I guess it's bandwidth, but you know, it's
All right,
kind
we
of,
got you now.
it's kind of shaking, it's going in and out, so.
yeah, you were freezing your video is freezing every once in a while.
I don't know what's happening here, but I keep just turning it off and turning it back on.
If you turn your video off, Barbara, you'll gain a little more bandwidth.
All right,
So
I'll,
as much as we like seeing you, if we, yeah, there you go.
Okay, so Matt, we've accepted it with that condition of no tree felling.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank you very much.
welcome. Okay, the next hearing is Henrik. Map 19, parcel 91, 1065 Chequesset Neck Road, an RDA to relocate a propane tank from a breezeway to an underground location. Is there anybody to represent that?
Yeah,
Yes.
we have John York present, the property owner.
I'm present.
Okay, would you like to discuss this?
Yes, to give you a little history, the original retaining wall foundation was built in October of 2011 as part of the original reconstruction of the house. And then in fall of 2019, it was a bit of an eyesore, but it had been developed to and have a 1,000-gallon propane tank. In trying to mitigate the eyesore that we had inadvertently created, we designed basically a building that would accommodate, it's actually a series, it's a shed on either side and an open breezeway in the center to accommodate a 500-gallon propane tank. And that was submitted for an RDA hearing in the fall of 2019. And a negative determination was granted. We then applied for a building permit, and that was granted for the original structure in January of 2020. Last fall, I began constructing the building, and then in April, I received a call from the fire chief in town who was rejecting the installation of the propane tank, and there really wasn't any discussion. It was just get it out of the building. So
I mean, we have obviously a very different interpretation. Breezeway, we did not describe as a building. He sees it all as one unit, the structure. So the only place we really have left to accommodate a propane tank at this point is at the head of the driveway, which is what we showed in our maps that we filed with you. And so we're back requesting an RDA at this time to see if possibly we could install an underground tank in the proposed location with your approval.
Okay. This is the house just before the levee, right?
Yes, correct.
Last house on the left.
Yes.
So you'll put the tank way down here and then run line all the way up to the house?
Well, the lines are already in.
Oh.
That was part of the 2011 development. So actually, the proposed location underground is only about 6 feet from where the service occurs now, right at the head of the path. The utilities run down the path.
Okay. And this is where, is that the 50? I'm having a little hard time reading this blueprint. The dotted line is that's the edge of the wetland. So that's the edge of the resource. And we're putting this in right next to it. Am I reading that right?
I'm sorry, which dotted line are you referring to?
Well, there's a dotted line. It says edge of wetland.
Yes.
And you're going to put an underground propane tank right on the edge of that? Clearly
Well,
it's-
we're substantially up the hill where it levels out. We are in the buffer area. I showed that on the second map, the 100-foot buffer. This entire
Right.
foundation is
Right.
within the 100-foot buffer.
Right.
But
Leon, I think the arrow from that cloud points to where it's going. So it's not where the cloud is.
Oh,
right.
Looking for an arrow.
There's a call out.
That's right.
Okay, are there any questions from the commissioners? Any concerns? John?
Concerned that we're burying a tank so close to the resource area. I am just not comfortable with that. I know burying tanks seems a safe thing to do now as gas escapes upward, but I just don't like the fact that we're burying a tank that close to the resource area. I'd rather the tank be above ground on the edge of the driveway area. We okayed the extension of the drive I remember the permission to expand the or build the structure where the walls were, but I'm not comfortable with burying this tank underground this close to the resource area.
Any other comments?
I want to ask what is it the fire department or who suggested that this be underground and what those reasons were? I'm not familiar with burying propane tanks or above ground tanks. That's not my expertise at all. So I don't know how to think about this unless I hear what experts have said and what is permitted currently.
Oh, sorry. I guess I was just going to offer that the proposed location, we're trying to be consistent to redevelopment of the structure, which was to remove an eyesore from the Chequesset Neck Road area, which was obviously exposing a large propane tank, which we really never meant to do. We created this structure to house the 500-gallon tank, and now the fire department is telling us get the tank out of the building. The only place left would be to put it underground so that we're not recreating yet another eyesore somewhere.
John,
I mean, aesthetics is not, my concern is the bearing of the tank so close to the resource area. That it's an eyesore doesn't particularly bother me.
right, it seems like there could be a visual barrier put up around it.
Plantings or something.
Mhm. Mike, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Well, I should make the declaration that I'm a trustee of the Conservation Trust, which is a nonprofit and has no business interest in this, but it is an abutter. Taking into consideration the facts, I feel I can perform my official duties objectively and fairly. And again, we've approved buried propane tanks before. I don't see that as the problem. It doesn't look like there's any other place to have it. And so if it can't be in the shed, I would be willing to see it buried where the plan calls for.
Any other comments from the commission? Would somebody like to put forward a motion? I guess not.
Well, let me move that we approve URIC map 19, parcel 91, 1065 Chequesset Neck Road, RDA, to relocate a propane tank from the breezeway to an underground location.
Do I hear a second?
I second that, Ben.
Okay, John?
No, and I will say I'm being consistent because I've voted against underground tanks before.
Okay, Benjamin?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Barbara? You're muted, Barbara.
Yes, yes.
And Leon, yes. So you're good to go.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
What do we have to sign on that?
This is an RDA, so you're gonna sign the determination of applicability, and it's in the buffer zone, so -3.
Right, that's a Form 2. And we also needed a supervisor for the McQuillan and Augusta project. We didn't assign a supervisor. I didn't hear that anyway on my.
I put that down as Doug and I, because you guys didn't select one.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I wish I knew more about the effects of burying one of those tanks, but I don't.
I don't, yeah, I don't either.
I suspect that its danger is minimal. But
You know, that's what they said when they buried gas tanks, oil tanks.
yeah,
Is there any process for inspecting these periodically? How does that work?
I would
Fire
suspect that
The fire department maintains, approvals and denials of these types of tanks as well. So they go out and inspect it along with the plumbing inspector.
Okay. The next hearing is Cushman, map 36, parcel 99, 45 Grove Avenue. Is there anyone to represent that?
Yes, good afternoon, Dave LaJoy again.
Yes, David.
Okay, this is a property off of Grove Avenue. 2020, you had approved the site for a new septic system. But this is a new project which consists of two different items. One is shoreline protection or along a eroding bank of a salt marsh. It's not a very high bank, but it's continually eroding. So we'd like to show about 100 feet long of a shoreline protection using sand-filled core envelopes and core logs. There'll be 3 logs, and the one envelope will be stacked against the existing bank, dug in a little bit, and then covered. Very similar, I'm sure you've seen several projects like this. Very minimal impact to the resource area once the work's done. It all would be planted. A minimum amount of fill, which is just enough to cover the core logs and the envelope. Eventually, we hope that the plantings will be partially in the envelope to help secure the vegetation. The other project is an addition on the northeast side of the main house, which is very close to the wetland, but we're on the side of the house furthest away from the wetland. It's partially in the flood zone, so the addition's going to be set on piles with no.
Okay.
Leon,
Yes, Mike?
so in this case, the Conservation Trust land is immediately abutting, so I'm going to have to recuse throughout the whole process.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, who wants to start out on the commission on this? Let's first address the erosion suppression, the car logs. John?
The house is a 1977 house, I understand. Is that correct?
What do you think it is, Ms. Cushman? Ms. Cushman?
I was 11. I was born in 1958. It's a 1969
Okay.
house. I was 11 when we moved in.
Okay, so it's because it's a pre-1970 house, and because the coil envelopes are sand filled and are sort of a soft revetment, I would have trouble not approving the coil envelopes and the logs. Assuming, of course, that the logs and the envelope do not go above the height of the very shallow bank that is there. This is not a berm. This is just along the bank. Is that correct?
The only thing that would be a little bit higher would be the fill over the top of it.
Okay, I think this is, given the fact, I mean, if this were a post 77 house, I would not approve, but because it's a pre-1977 house and it's not been substantially altered, the house has not been substantially altered in the years since then, I think there's no problem with the sand-filled envelopes and coil logs. That's my opinion about that.
All right, Barbara?
Yes, I don't I think it's overkill to have these anchors going into the bank, because that's really undermining the structure of the bank. I don't mind having a few sand-filled envelopes there as erosion control, but I think this structure is overkill for that site. And I don't like any kinds of, whatever they are, diamond piers or whatever, digging into the bank there. I think there could be a simpler solution with just some basic sandbags. That's
Okay.
my opinion.
Excuse me, the duckbill anchors,
The anchors, yes.
okay, they're about 4 inches long. Steel unit that connects to a steel rod, and you take a pipe and you push it through the soil to embed the anchoring part, And then as you pull the tube out, the anchor opens up and secures it.
Yeah,
It's very,
I understand. I'm opposed to that kind of intrusion into the coastal bank at this site. I think it could, I'm not an engineer, but I think it could be accomplished more simply without that kind of structure. So I don't like digging into the bank here, even if it's minimally intrusive. I mean, this is a bank that we are required to protect. So I'm not in favor of that particular type of soft solution.
Right, is the tidal, it looked like the tidal activity there was pretty minimal. Has there been any other kind of remediation in the last 30 years in that area?
I mean, we planted
There
grass.
hasn't-
We
No,
planted
sorry.
grass.
Yeah, but, okay, so,
Have you just tried to do some beach renourishment?
Do you mean like add
Add sand?
substance?
Yeah.
No, never.
Okay.
My
well,
parents dumped 2 Mack trucks full of sand the year the house was built, and we're down to it's all gone. I mean, so we have never built it up.
so that's like 60 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's washed away and the tide comes up more often. You know, that part of the marsh has changed significantly so that the water comes up probably half the time now, whereas when I was a kid, it came up, 1 or 2 days. It was like a big deal when there was a flood tide.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Barbara, have you ever seen sandbags used with something like this? Are you experienced in this?
No, I'm not experienced, but we have some projects involving core filled sandbags that are not bolted into the bank, that are just laid down there.
It doesn't seem like there's
In
enough tidal activity
in a
there.
higher velocity zone than this.
Right, a much higher velocity.
Much
Yeah,
higher.
it seemed like-
Yeah, I'll kind of add on to Barbara's position there, because having done a little bit of this work myself, there's you just basically fill the same material, like coconut core material, and it just you fill it with sand and stitch it up, and then it just kind of it's like a biodegradable sandbag. And I think I would agree that this area would be appropriate to do something like that. I think it should be able to last
Forever.
a little while.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
much,
same-
it's much lower impact on the bank, I think.
Right.
It would accomplish your goals for a number of years. Anyway,
excuse me, that's what we're proposing.
no, but you're anchoring it with diamond, whatever it is. I'm sorry.
Anchor.
Galvanized
duckbill
cables.
anchors.
Yeah, I don't want anything into the bank. I don't want anything into the bank is my feeling on this, when it might not be necessary.
Yeah, that's.
I concur with Barbara. I think that we don't need to have it anchored. I think we've seen the sand-filled or envelopes will stand a lot more velocity than will ever occur at this spot. I don't think you need it. And we want to give you your protection. It's just we don't want to undermine the bank any further.
And it shouldn't make any difference on the effectivity of it.
Right. They're not going to wash away.
Yeah, no, I don't want it to float away if we're going to spend the money. That would really be bad.
That's not going to happen.
Because also another thing that's going to happen is that if the beach grass is successful, those roots will go really deep and grow through the core envelopes and essentially become a natural anchor.
And I don't think they float, so filled with sand, so.
So do we need a plan from David showing a new anchoring system?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Or
that's.
no anchoring system.
But we need to know how they're gonna stay in place stacked.
Right, or whether they're gonna be core rolls or just a different kind of core envelope. Because the
There's both.
The rolls tend to roll down, but the
Okay.
envelopes are flatter and have a different shape, so
Okay, the envelope is we're using, and the the log is 20 inches, and it's in a mesh. So it stays together, and it's covered with dirt, and it's planted. So if you just don't want to have the anchors and take that responsibility, then that's fine. The same, this is only 3 feet tall.
right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's 3 logs and the envelope at the bottom against the existing bank with about a foot of fill over the top of them that's going to be planted. And if you don't want the anchors and the rest of it is acceptable to you, then that's what we'll, that the owner can decide whether that's what she wants.
I would feel comfortable with that.
Can we just make it a condition with to just not have the galvanized cables?
Anchoring system
The
Anchors.
anchoring system.
permitted.
I'll be happy to change the plan.
Okay, perfect.
All right, yeah, we can make that a condition of the plan. It's resubmitted showing that, right? So is there any more discussion of the erosion protection? So now let's talk about the addition to the house, which is a more difficult issue.
Can I just ask a question about the erosion? So the anchors, Barbara, would damage the coastal bank? They would rough it up or cause problems? Just so I'm clear, just since I've
The
got you.
coastal bank is a resource that we have to protect. And once you start putting things into it, putting things on top of it, I worry about what's going to happen to it.
Like it could cave in or it could get compromised.
It could get compromised in the future. I mean, we're going to have sea level rise. That's going to happen. The car envelopes and the sandbags may eventually erode, but then you may have these cables sticking out of your bank. So I would rather not have that situation in the future.
I feel that, I don't know, but it would seem to me that the maximum lifetime of these, I think, is about 10 years or something. It looks like there's nothing to threaten that. It should last 10 years without much problem, I would think. Unless we do see a significant change in the marsh and the tide. Okay, so let's talk about the second part. I wish these were broken up into 2 different things. Our bylaws disallow us from any building within the filter strip. So we have a problem here. That the proposed addition is almost all within the 50-foot filter strip. And that's a real problem for us. Barbara, do you have?
If I didn't,
I agree.
If I didn't, I apologize. Generally, I request a variance from that part of your regulations, which you have the right to grant a variance for specific projects. Obviously, this is unique. And
why is that?
The 50 feet encroaches quite a bit, but the building is almost at the edge of a wetland or the top of the bank.
Okay, Dave, that may change as sea level rises and it may be closer to the bank and closer to the wetland. I think we have to draw a line somewhere, and I'm drawing a line there that I don't think I would vote to approve a project in the 50-foot filter strip here, this project. I'm just saying that now to avoid a lot of discussion and back and forth. That's how I would vote right now.
Yeah.
Is there the ability to raise the whole dwelling up on piers if we're undergoing a massive construction and renovation project on the whole lot anyway? is it possible to abandon perhaps the foundation, raise the building up so the tides could flow underneath the building? And then the commission might consider some type of an addition.
I could certainly ask the applicant that if they want to pick up the
I'm just
building.
throwing that out there because it is in the
Yes.
flood zone.
No, I understand. Yeah,
And when I went out to that site, I was sort of stunned at its location, and that was my initial thought was if we could raise the whole thing up on pilings or piers or some type of, flood compliant
Yes.
construction, it would be a win.
okay.
So I have a question. That's a little alarming to me, but I just had never considered it, and we don't have the resources to move the house, and it would still be within the buffer zone for the most part. So if somebody raised up this house and then maybe asked for the addition, maybe not the addition. I mean, I guess I'm trying to figure out. I think raising up the house is a big deal. Is that right?
I think it's a big deal, yes, but I think it would buy you more time into the future with that location.
It's your
So
deck.
If the boards or the commission is in that state of mind, I think I'd like to have some time to talk to Katie about it, explain it to her. It may not be that we can get everything out of the 50 feet, but maybe there's a compromise there if we're doing something about what you're talking about. So why don't I ask for continuance and talk to Kate about it and go from there.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw a wrench into it, but if this wasn't gonna,
I understand. Thank you.
No, it's okay. I mean, guess what? We're smart.
I'm sorry.
My concern is that this is, a very flat area and it's really delicate, I would think. The fact that it's sheltered is good and the car rolls will protect it some more. But even so, you're in 2 decades, this could be on the wrong side of the tide because it's very shallow. John?
I think we have to be careful as a commission that we have been holding fairly strongly position that we're not letting construction in the 50-foot zone. With 100, there's more leeway, but within the 50, we've pretty much said no. And we're nervous about setting precedents in the 50. So I think it's, yes, we have jurisdiction within the 100, but it's within the 50 is the big problem here. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about things.
Yeah.
I will, thank you. As far as precedents, each case is on its own. You understand that.
That's
And
right.
with a variance process, you're able to determine which sites you want to grant it. So we're able to present these. It's not that if it happened before, you can't do it, or if it happened before, you must do it. So thank you. Let me ask for two more weeks and come back to the commission.
All right, I'm just going to say, I insist on saying this, just the case before this, someone said, well, in the past, we've allowed that. So the fact is, precedence does count.
Yes, it does.
Have you guys allowed any kind of project like this within the filter strip in the last 10 years?
I couldn't speak to that because I've only been here a year.
But you know what I mean? Like, has it happened before and you're tightening up, or?
We've had a number of cases we've said no to, that much I know, because of 50 foot.
And this
Yeah.
was
Kill
Even-
people's
even-
opportunity.
Even as simple as a deck or a shed, we've drawn the line at the 50. Because it's in our regulations, no structures, including decks, sheds, additions, blah, 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 are allowed in the 50. So, I mean, that's what we have to abide by.
I think this one is interesting as well because of the flood zone. So it's
Yeah.
a little more restrictive than just a property that's within the 50. You also have the flood zone, and that property sits really low. So these core envelopes are gonna protect the bank, but they're not gonna protect your structure as sea level rises. So there's not a lot you can do there. That's why my thought was if you could raise the whole thing up, it's a win situation. We gain something and you gain time.
But if you raise it up, Hillary, if you raise it up, you still are within the filter strip. So
Exactly.
but so the addition would probably be a no, because you're still within the filter strip.
Well, I would argue that you're actually, the raising of the structure is mitigation. And so the tides and the sea is going to be able to come in.
So you
and
just
your-
let it in.
Yeah, and your addition is on the second story above the ground. So I think you and David can strategize about that and see where you land.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'd like
Thanks,
to hear a
David.
motion to continue.
So move, John Kumbler.
Second.
Barbara?
I'll second. Okay. John, how do you vote?
Yes.
Benjamin?
Yes.
Mike?
Recuse.
Oh, that's right. Barbara?
Yes.
And Leon, yes. We'll be looking forward to hearing from you next time.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Next one is Udowitz, 75 Omaha Road, map 28, parcel 189. Is there someone to represent that?
Yes, there is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's Bob Perry with Cape Cod Engineering, and I hope I'm coming through okay.
You are. That's
Thank you.
fine.
So just to recap, we were visiting you a month ago or so, and maybe a little more than that. I had a trip to make out west, and we left the meeting with basically making an introduction of the project. In that interim, we have followed up on some of the items of interest the commission had, as well as I had a phone conversation with your shellfish constable. And we discussed the traffic control issue, and I'll speak to that in a minute. Just to tell you what we've done, we submitted a revised driveway plan, which is part of the plan that the revetment is shown on. There was interest on our part, I think on everyone's part, to minimize any tree alteration. So the turnout that was at the bottom was larger than it needed to be if we were to split it. So there's basically a parallel turnout at the bottom now, where one vehicle could park or turn out to avoid a conflict. And the former driveway location becomes a potential parking space if we just don't eradicate the former driveway at the very top. So the driveway near the home stays as it was, and the proposed driveway makes an effort to avoid some trees that are also shown on the plan. The second item was a restorative plan, very basic.
So there's going to be two driveways.
No, I'll try to make this clear. Just
Sorry,
at
maybe
the
it's
top.
clear to everyone but me.
Hello, am I still with you? Okay.
Yeah.
The important thing to bring up at this point is that we provided a driveway restoration plan that was requested to show how that old driveway would be abandoned. So a planting plan, which is very basic, it's a fairly narrow strip, but the driveway surface needs to be taken up, and a row, it's hard to get a grouping in there, it's so narrow, but a row of about a dozen beach plums and bayberries can be set in place as you go down the old driveway and seed the area with native grasses. And that effort in combination with the natural growth is going to just take that driveway area right over again. It's already difficult to keep the branches pruned and away from the driveway roots.
Okay, that's
The
what I
applicant-
thought was happening, but I thought I heard you say you were keeping a parking space or a driving path.
Just if you look, if you see the plan, it's just a little spur that would be kept. A little, about a 15-foot section of the old driveway at the top so that you could turn a vehicle around or park a vehicle there. You see that?
Just this section at the top is staying.
That's right.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you then. Thank you. That's what I thought.
Okay. Yeah, so the pathway, which is it would remain on the old driveway route, but just to preserve that path that goes down to where the LP tank is. And I think it's the road can often be in rough shape, and it just makes sense to have a pathway where the old driveway was. So we're still intending to keep enough open that you could walk down that route. But I wanted to get you the details on how that would be restored. So that was item 2. Traffic control, which was of interest to a number of folks. Nancy and I agree that any activity that goes forward in the revetment reconstruction effort is going to in no way impede any access to the grant holders. And there needs to be some coordination with that. And Nancy offered to get a couple of the growers together and review that with me and the contractor once selected. The goal would be that if the concrete wall is not in any danger of overturning, and it actually is not, it does not appear stable, but it's still standing. The idea would be to avoid the shellfish traffic as much as possible by moving this job into January. So that would be the best way to do it. And we're going to be looking at that concrete wall in order to make a better determination about its stability. We don't want it to fall over. And if there's any chance that it's moving, then the job would likely have to go forward early December. And in that instance, there would just be strict control. I don't know if you've ever been driving through naked corners in Orleans lately, but it's not that bad. And this revetment is being situated so that it's inshore of the concrete that exists there today. So there's very little likelihood that we're going to have a conflict as long as the contract is informed of this and is ready to take the steps that he needs to take, just not to block that route, period. And I think most people would agree that's very, we can accommodate that. The road condition, last time I was there, it looked pretty good. A number of times before that, it was pretty badly rutted. And as I said at the last meeting, these trucks that are going to come down here and bring materials don't want to be driving through ruts. So the contractor will care for that road while he's doing the job. But most importantly, when he is finished, the contract will expect that the contractor will place material where needed and compact it and leave the road as a smooth route, just like you would normally find it after the town did something to it, or if a private person had done something to it. That work, just so you know, would only be done with native materials. It's not going to have any kind of a T-base or other processed material from reclaimed items, just native gravel or native hardening. And that leads me into number 5, which was the sediment nourishment topic. And I've given you a summary of what I've done just to come up with a number. And you may have your own experiences with other projects that went through nourishment exercises. We know the long-term rate on some of the more exposed coastal banks I've experienced it anyway for the last 50 years at about 1 foot per year. I think recently up around Griffin Island and Boundbrook Island area of that part of Wellfleet, we've seen some pretty dramatic erosion. And I think it's episodic in the sense that we've had some very colossal storms since about 2012. So the long-term rate is still in and around 1 foot per year. One of the documents we were able to do was to use the land court plan from 1958 and then compare it to where our mean high tide line is today, which tracks beach erosion. And that beach erosion remarkably was 1 foot per year. But at this location, the bank erosion's anticipated to be a little less than that. Back in the days when the beaches were changing, according to the study I used, we had dunes. We didn't have the same environment on the coast that we have today. And we certainly had less tree cover and shrub cover, and the wind blew more and the dunes grew better. But I've settled on a 3/4 foot per year erosion rate for this bank. And as a result of that, with the varying height segments of the bank, we're at 175 cubic yards per year. So that led me to another discussion with Nancy, the Shellfish Constable, who has rightful concerns for that material, its quality, and where it goes, and when it's put in. So I don't object to any of her concerns at all, and I believe her concerns are well-founded. We've determined that predominantly sediment at this site is going to head offshore, but go north. Of course, it can go south, but predominantly we see the sand setting up on the south side of the groins that are about several hundred yards to the north of the site. So we see a general drift to the north. Most importantly, the material is going to be of a sand pit source that's running 2 to 3% silt, and the material would be put on the revetment. And Nancy's request was that it be put on during low course tide phases, which we can try to do, but it's not always possible and can be offset by the weather. So I think it's important that we just get that material up on the revetment when it's placed, because it will allow it to go in much, much more slowly and gradually, which is the desirable situation. So that would be the summary of the additions or changes or additional information that I came away from the meeting with. And so if you have more questions, I'm happy to try to answer those. I don't think I've left anything out. So thanks for listening to my spiel. Okay.
Okay, commissioners, any discussion? Barbara?
Of course, I have a lot of opinions about this. I just want to say that I think both the a repositioning of the driveway and this other coastal engineering structures are improvements to what is currently there. So there's no doubt about that. But I do have some questions. It looks like we are working within 2 buffer zones, the Sewell's Gutter buffer zone and also the Harbor buffer zone. So some of the work, the driveway is in the Sewell's Gutter buffer zone, but the wall, the revetment is in the Cape Cod Bay Wellfleet Harbor buffer zone. I don't see any calculations of disturbance in any of the buffer zones. So is the driveway like a complete replacement in terms of disturbance from what was previously there? I'd like to see that. So that's one issue I have. And I also want to know if the revetment, since it's on their property now, can be included in the area of disturbance within the 50-foot buffer zone, because now it's on their property and now it's going to be a disturbed area in the resource, the coastal bank or whatever that resource is. So I have those kind of questions. I also have questions about time of year restrictions for these projects, but let me just stop there and see what other people have to say.
Any other questions from the commission? So Barbara, it sounds like, well, you want the square footage of disturbance on the plan, is that right? It's not there now?
I want to see that the new driveway is
Yeah.
comparable to the old, if there's any increase in disturbance in our area of jurisdictions from Sewell's Gutter with that new,
Yeah.
the replacement of the driveway. I think that has to be on the plan. It's part of our regulations that
Yeah.
that be calculated. I don't mind the little pathway using the old driveway, although that sacrifices some of the replacement value of the new driveway. So if we can get the calculation of, you know, the disturbed area versus the area that's going to be revegetated included in that, that would be great. Am I being too anal about these things, or is this?
No, I think it's simple.
That's what we've asked for, because it's important.
Fine.
And also, now that we're going to have a new revetment that's going to be on the property, that's an additional disturbance to the property. And how is that going to be calculated into what's allowed in terms of our 3,000 square foot, you know, calculation? I don't have the calculus to figure that out, but I'd like to see it, because this is, we're going to see more of these. And as I said, I think this whole project is an improvement, but I
Yes.
think we need to have that kind of information going forward.
I may have questions about your questions, so you'll be helpful to me on this. The revetment being a replacement of that old seawall
Right.
is actually, it's within the coastal bank, not actually in the buffer, but
Right.
it is actually within the resource of the coastal bank.
Right.
And it's on the order of 6,000 square feet, a little bit more actually in total. And the driveway, and you may want these in writing, the driveway is, I would say, comparable. The work to create a driveway, of course, will be greater in its disturbance than when it is completed and in operation. And so there's every reason to think that these driveways, when you look at them on the plan, they are just about the same length. The turnout at the bottom is about 300 square feet to 350. And it is adjacent to a roadway, which is just an absolute horror show half the time I see it. That doesn't excuse us from doing a better job, but we're fortunately isolated from Sewell's Gutters, salt marshes by the road. And the other beneficial feature we have is there is a depression right adjacent at our lot line here that we will not be casting any runoff out into the street. And I can say that with certainty. But the quantification, it's not something I had talked with you about earlier, nor was I prepared to give you those exact numbers. I can do that. I just don't want to go to meeting after meeting, but I can certainly get you the information. I don't think it's a deal breaker. If I give you the numbers, I don't think they're going to be surprising to you. And so with that, I would say, I'm not sure whether that's something you want after the fact, or if you want us to try to change anything about what we're doing here as far as this
I think as long as it's under the allowable
scope or size of the
disturbance,
changes.
that could be
I'll just go on a little longer to tell you what I've done is
right.
Go ahead, Barbara.
I just have one other thing, and well, the time of year restriction, I think, will have to be negotiated. But this is something that may not be palatable to the homeowners, but the end of that road was, their driveway was always a turnaround. Because if you went down that road and realized, uh-oh, you know, I can't be here, you'd have to back up about a quarter of a mile. So I'm wondering if there could be some kind of easement or something for people who can turn around and go back. I'm just throwing it out there because
Barbara,
it's
is
a
that
tough
you?
yeah.
I want to let you know I've spoken with the owner about this, and it's hopefully and anticipated to be a cooperative situation on both fronts. And if you look at the plan, you will see that the driveway, although this apparently might be a private road and people own to the center line of it, but there seems to be a lot of use down there. So apparently folks have rights in the Omaha Road of some sort. The spur of this old driveway would probably remain at the joint where the juncture of Omaha Road. And I don't really know whether things would change too much about vehicles turning around unless someone were to create another location for that to happen. So that I don't think is a big problem to allow a spur there since it's within the road layout. You see it?
Okay, yeah, that's good. And also, the homeowners there are negotiating with the town anyway to have some kind of easement for the shell fishermen, and then to have a couple of dedicated parking spots for the homeowners who will have to turn around at some point and not
Right.
have like a public parking area there, but just for the people who are part of the association, just so that they're not, my concern is that they're not turning into the marsh.
Right, right.
the side.
This is on the opposite side, so that's the place,
Right.
try to foster that type of a turnaround, a little tail where people can just back in and go.
Right.
And, you know, it needs to be treated with respect, and I don't think there's a big problem with leaving the portion of the driveway we're speaking of.
Right.
But our goal was to return that. It was also a severe traffic conflict with vehicles trying to get some headway leaving the beach, and somebody trying to get out of the Utowitz driveway was a calamity in the making. So that's a better, we just thought this was a major improvement. When the dust settles, we thought this was, no question, the best arrangement to have for a driveway for this property.
Okay.
Can I circle back to the square footage of disturbance as well?
Yeah.
I think we have not counted the square footage of disturbance of coastal engineered structures into our calculation of the 3,000 and 5,000 square feet, because almost every single structure would put us over that number. And the disturbance isn't in the buffer zone, it's in the actual resource area. And so I think it's important that we get that area of disturbance, but we don't use that in that calculation. The driveways, absolutely. The pathways on the property, absolutely. The dwellings, decks, all the other stuff that the dwelling needs to be a dwelling gets counted into that, but this revetment or bulkheads, we should not count in that because everyone would be over.
Right. I agree. It's not within our purview to limit a project based on that.
Yeah, but we want the number. We definitely want.
With our current bylaws, but yes, that's an important number to have.
So that would be the area occupation. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you gave us that 6,000 square feet, so that should be on the plan. Yeah.
So here, so
Yeah, I just want to reinforce what Hillary said.
I'm going to find that. It depends on whether, if we count the area that's going to be altered by the removal of the concrete wall, that's going to blow up our area a little more. If we count the area only occupied by the revetment, that is 6,720 square feet.
So I think, Bob, what we want you to do is put the number of the proposed disturbance on the plan, not what's existing, what's proposed for the revetment structure, the structure in the resource area. And then we want to see the total disturbance on the lot. So that's going to be your driveways, pathways, walkways, dwellings, decks, what gardens, whatever else you have going on in a square footage. And we like,
As an existing condition,
yep, and we like to see
like
that.
you want the house,
Yep,
okay,
yep, and we
Okay.
want to see it broken down in the 50 versus the 100.
got it.
Perfect.
Okay, I did not know you would be seeking those things for the things that existed, but we can do that, no trouble.
Yeah, we need to see the delta, the change. What are we changing from what to what? As
I
far-
get it, sure.
John, you have something to say?
Yeah, I think I'm reinforcing what Hillary said. This revetment is a huge improvement over those concrete walls. I do not want to discourage people from removing concrete walls and putting I won't say less invasive, but less destructive structure in place. So I think we want to be encouraging this kind of activity rather than seeing it as perhaps problematic.
So it sounds like from the commission side that if we get those figures of just the square footage of disturbance before and after, not counting the revetment, that we would find this as an improvement and nothing to, because we can make that a condition, right?
Right. And time of year restriction, when would this happen?
Well, it would not be before, and based on everything that I've experienced, before December 1. And I think the general understanding I had with Nancy, and of course, the owner of this property has concerns about the stability of the concrete, but winter is a great time to do a job like this. And if we
Perfect.
can- Yeah, so I don't want a restriction, but we're certainly not going for December 1.
Right.
And you're gonna need approval of the Shellfish Constable and the conservation agent prior to the commencement of work, so we can hash that
Right.
out when the time comes.
It sounds like Hillary's willing to be the supervisor for this project.
Yeah, I think she volunteered.
That sounds like it to me.
I
We'll have
propose
to
we
have-
accept this with those conditions.
So yes, did you just move to approve, John?
Yes, with the
All right.
conditions we just
I
spoke.
I will second, because this is a remarkable improvement over what's there. I like the plan.
Right, and Mr. Perry, you've done a good job on trying to meet our wishes on this.
Right.
Okay, John, how do you vote? Benjamin,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
I
Mike?
have to recuse again.
I'm sorry. And Leon says yes.
Okay.
So if you can get those, get a revised.
Thank you all for
plan.
your time.
Yeah, you'll be getting a revised plan with those figures on it to Hillary.
Yes,
And
indeed.
you'll,
I have it in the conditions as well.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. I'll deliver that. We'll get that together very, very soon and get it to you.
all right.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye
Good
now.
night. Okay, that was our last hearing. Does anyone have anything to say before we go?
Yes, I propose we adjourn.
I just want to say that I've been having a lot of trouble. I've been shut out, and then I have to reset all my internet settings and modems to get back on. This is very frustrating. This is the second meeting or third or fourth meeting that this has happened to me. So I'd be so happy when we get to meet in person and not have to do this.
I agree.
When you come back in September.
It means a lot to the commission to work
I have
together.
one more of these. Oh my God. All right.
I heard a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second, Michael.
Okay, John, how do you vote?
Yes.
Benjamin,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes, definitely.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, you don't, okay.
No, I don't.
And I vote yes too. I would like to go to dinner.
All right, bring your
All right, guys.
paperwork to the office. Lots of paperwork.
So we have, yes, just to we have two number fives, one with a modified or and then a number two, right?
Town of Wellfleet and Udowitz are fives, and also McQuillan Augusta is a 5.
Yes.
And Uric is a Form 2.
Yes, 2.
Okay, so we have 3 number fives.
3 5s, 1 2.
Got it. I can do that.
Good
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Leon.
Good night, everybody.
Leon.
Great work, Leon.
Yes.
Cheers. Have a good one.
night.